In an earlier lesson, I introduced you to a new editing paradigm in Final Cut Pro X called a storyline. I mentioned that storylines are not tracks in the traditional sense, but more like a container or a lane for your clips. When you add a clip to the timeline, you're actually adding it to the primary storyline, either into the main body, represented visually by this horizontal strip, or you are connecting it to the primary storyline, represented by these clips connected above and below it. The advantage of this editing paradigm over traditional track-based paradigms is that you never experience clip collisions when moving clips around. And second, when performing trims and other changes to the primary storyline, connected clips maintain their original alignments, unless of course you move them. In short, the storyline paradigm was designed to help you focus on telling your story by removing some of the limitations of track-based editing. In this lesson, we're going to take a closer look at storylines to understand not only how they work from a structural standpoint, but how they help you work with much greater efficiency and speed when shaping your story. Let's begin by examining one of the building blocks of the storyline, the gap clip. In the Interviews bin, locate Bob Interview 02. Create a selection range around his comment, "I try to tell true, authentic stories."
I try to tell true, authentic stories.
Let's append this clip to the end of the timeline by pressing E on the keyboard. As editors, we often want to experiment with the timing and placement of our clips. For example, I'm not sure this interview clip should immediately follow the two clips of the Civil War battle, and I simply want to move it later in time to create some timing space. However, when I try to drag the clip with the selection tool, Final Cut Pro prevents me from doing this. The clip always snaps back to its original position when I release the mouse. If you're a legacy Final Cut Pro user, this behavior will seem very odd and perhaps even frustrating at first. But once you understand what's going on, you'll appreciate what I'm about to show you. What might help you to visualize what is happening is to imagine the storyline as a spine and each separate clip as a vertebrae along the spine. Each vertebrae, clip, is connected to the next vertebrae, clip. For example, select the Confederate Charge 2 clip and press Delete. The clip is removed and the Bob Interview clip immediately following it moves earlier in time to prevent a gap from being created. To continue my spine analogy, one vertebrae was removed and a later vertebrae was fused with an earlier one. Historically, this is known as an extract edit. Undo that last step. But what if we wanted to remove the clip but leave a gap in order to keep our current timing? This can be accomplished with a modifier key. With the Confederate Charge 2 clip selected, hold down Shift and press Delete. This time the clip is removed, but the Bob Interview clip has not moved from its original position. Historically, this is known as a lift edit. Something else has happened in the timeline. A gap clip was created where the deleted clip previously existed. Notice you can select it and trim it just like any other clip. But the larger point is this: a gap clip must exist in the storyline in order to maintain the integrity of the spine. In fact, Final Cut Pro won't even let you create a gap between any two clips without a gap clip separating them. You can therefore think of a gap clip as a proxy clip, or if you're a legacy Final Cut Pro user, you can think of them as mandatory slugs. Let's undo that last step. Now that you understand the importance of gap clips, you should now understand why we can't simply move the Bob Interview clip later in time, at least not with the selection tool. We need a tool that will allow us to move a clip while simultaneously creating a gap object in the storyline. From the Tools menu, select the Position tool or press P on your keyboard. Iconographically, the tool looks similar to the selection tool, but without a tail. Place your mouse inside the Bob Interview clip and begin dragging to the right. As you drag, notice a gap clip is automatically generated, then widens the further you move the clip away from its original position. Keep dragging until the tooltip reads 12 seconds. In the timeline, you now have a gap clip connecting the Confederate Charge 2 clip and the Bob Interview clip. If you select the gap clip and press Ctrl D, the dashboard tells us the gap clip duration is 12 seconds, which of course matches the value of the tooltip prior to releasing the mouse. Let's see what happens if we use the Position tool to move the Confederacy Charge 2 clip later in time. Drag the clip to the right until the tooltip reads 3 seconds. A new gap clip is created between the Confederate Charge and the Confederate Charge 2 clip. Select it and press Ctrl D. Again, you'll see its duration matches the value of the tooltip prior to releasing the mouse. Because gap clips are functionally clips without any media, they exist primarily for timing purposes and therefore can be replaced by real clips. Undo that last step by pressing Command Z. Let's replace the gap clip with a clip from the event library. Select the group keyword collection to reveal a clip labeled The Motley Crew. Drag this clip onto the gap clip, and when you see the clip turn white, release your mouse to bring up a menu of replace options. You recall from Lesson 5 that if you choose either replace from start or replace from end, the clip's duration in the timeline will be honored. If you choose replace, the clip's duration in the timeline will inherit the duration of the clip you're dragging. We want the gap clip's duration of 12 seconds to be honored, so choose replace from end. By the way, I had you choose replace from end rather than replace from start because the camera's framing of the group is much better at the end of the clip. Play back the last two edits to preview them if you like. While a replace edit is quick and useful, it does have one minor annoyance. It always replaces the clip in the timeline using both the video and audio from the clip you've dropped onto the target clip. As you can see, the Motley Crew clip in the timeline contains both video and audio. I'm bringing this up because there may be times when you want the clip replaced with just video. For example, in a music video where you've already added music to the timeline and you simply want to cut picture over it. Since a replace edit does not give you the option for excluding the audio, you'll need to know how to remove it from the storyline. Make sure the Motley Crew clip is selected, then from the clip menu choose Detach Audio. In the timeline, the audio is detached and placed below the video. To maintain sync, a connection line is automatically established. Since we're not interested in keeping the audio, make sure it's selected, then press Delete on your keyboard. If you ever need to get the audio back, you'll need to locate the original clip in the event library, then replace the clip in the timeline with it. Of course, you can press Command Z to undo the last delete operation. However, the undo command is rarely helpful hours or even days into the edit when you decide you want the audio back. So you'll need to know how to do this. Select the Motley Crew clip in the timeline, then from the clip menu choose Reveal in Event Browser, or press Shift F on your keyboard. In the event library, the clip is called up, but more importantly, a selection range is created that matches the start and end points of the clip in the timeline. Now all you need to do is replace the clip in the timeline by dragging the clip from the event library onto the timeline clip and choosing either Replace from Start or Replace from End. It really doesn't matter which one you choose because the start and end points of both clips are identical. The clip is replaced and it now includes both video and audio. One other way you might approach replacing a clip in the timeline without including the audio is to perform a video-only 3-point edit. Select the clip in the timeline, then press X to create a selection range that encompasses the entire clip. From the Edit Modes pop-up menu on the toolbar, choose Video Only or press Option 2. From the Edit menu, choose Overwrite or press D on your keyboard. The currently selected clip in the event library overwrites the clip in the timeline using the selection boundary you set for it using the X key. And this time, only the video is included in the edit. Personally, of all the methods I showed you for replacing a gap clip, this is my preferred method. I guess old habits die hard. Switch back to the selection tool by pressing A.